Streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and blasttheradio.com, this is The Lowell Green Show. The number to call and be heard around the world is 613-413-2217. Or email Lowell at blasttheradio.com. And now, here is Lowell Green.
So here is one of Trudeau's cabinet ministers calling the Taliban, quote, our brothers. Mariam Monsef, Minister of Women and Gender Equality, is front and center today on social media calling the Taliban, quote, our brothers. John?
This opportunity to speak to our brothers, the Taliban. We call on you to ensure the safe and secure passage of any individual in Afghanistan out of the country.
Holy suffering doodle cats. You know, a lot of people are picking up on the brothers. And of course, Miriam is claiming, well, this is strictly cultural. I think, to me, the more disturbing word is our. I just want to point something out here. And that is that Mariam Monsef is a cabinet minister, a senior cabinet minister in the government of Canada. She is speaking on behalf of all Canadians. When she uses the word our, she is speaking collectively. Well, I have something to tell you, Ms. Monsef. The Taliban are not my brothers. I don't think they're your brothers either, John. In fact, I don't think there are very many Canadians who would describe the Taliban as our brothers. Bad enough, I say, that she uses the word brothers. But to imply that somehow or other all Canadians, our brothers, she says, they're not my brother. They're terrorists enlisted, by the way, by our own damn government as a terrorist organization. John, your thoughts on this?
My first thought when I heard her say that was, with every service member who's been to Afghanistan wearing our uniform and the hell that they've gone through and the sacrifices that they've made, I don't think too many of our servicemen and women who have been there, nor their families, would refer to the Taliban as their brothers.
Our brothers. You know, let's not, thank you, John. Let's not forget that this is the same Mariam Monsef who entered Canada under false pretenses. She claimed that she had been born in Afghanistan. But even today, many websites still describe her as an Afghani Canadian. In fact, her own website says that she is Canada's first Afghanistan Canadian. She's not Afghanistan. She was born in Iran. Some enterprising journalist, we apparently still have a few in this country, dug out the fact that she was not born in Afghanistan. She was born in Iran. But even today, she still describes herself, and her website describes herself, and her own government describes her as an Afghani Canadian. That may be a minor point, but I just want to point this out, that she entered this country under false pretenses, and then to claim that she didn't know that she'd been born in Iran. Come on, give me a break. These last few days, she's been in the vanguard of liberals claiming that we're doing some wonderful things in evacuating Canadians and allies from Afghanistan. Once again, telling barefaced lies, because we know that that's not what's happening at all. In fact, some of the stories now emanating from Kabul in particular are just horrifying. It's very clear that we are going to abandon several thousand, including apparently a good number of Canadians, and of course, many of our allies, people that we promised. This seems to be forgotten. I see some entries sometimes on Facebook from people saying, oh, let them stay there. We promised. We said, we told these people, if you work for us, if you become interpreters, truck drivers, et cetera, spies in some cases, if you help us, we will make sure that if the situation ever arises where you have to get out of this country, the Taliban are threatening you, we will look after you. Well, we're not looking after them. In fact, of all of the countries involved here, we are doing the poorest, by far the poorest job. The government is claiming, oh, well, we have special forces over there helping people through the streets. Let me tell you what other countries are doing. Germany has flown in a helicopter They are flying their people out of Kabul to the airport and rescuing them. They will probably rescue all of their people. The Dutch, you know what the Dutch are doing? They have hired a bus. So they are going, there are spots in downtown Kabul where the Dutch allies, Dutch citizens are, and they have a special bus with guards, and they're ferrying them via bus. Several other countries, the Danes, are doing the same thing by bus. And what are we doing? We are telling people, still today, we are telling people, hold up in 2 or 3 of these special locations, apparently in downtown Kabul, wear red if you can find it, and make your way at several miles through the dangerous streets being patrolled by Taliban. Come to the airport, make your way to the front of more than 100,000 people crying to get into the airport, and we will rescue you. That's what we are saying. And so here is Miss Monsurf calling the Taliban, who are a bunch of butchering, murdering killers, terrorists, calling them our brothers. Our brothers. Didn't say my brothers. She said our brothers. Please remember this. This is important. She was speaking on our behalf. Are the Taliban, are any of the Taliban your brothers? Oh my God. Can you imagine anybody in the Western world claiming a brotherhood with one of the most vicious terrorist organizations in the world? An organization that murders women for not wearing the hijab, denies women the right to an education. They've closed down all of the schools teaching girls. Girls not allowed to go to school, even right now in Afghanistan. An organization that forces 11-year-olds and 12-year-old girls to marry bearded fighters. They are the property. Once you're 12 years old in Afghanistan under the Taliban, you are the property of anybody who wants to take you, any bearded fighter. Father, grandfather, great-grandfather, 12-year-old, she's mine. And we have the minister. Not only that, do you know who Monsurf is? She's the minister of women for this country, for God's sake. Oh, what's the matter with these people? The Taliban makes a sport of having Saturday morning hanging parties in local soccer fields, hanging women who were caught outside their home without the company of males, hanging women caught going to school, hanging women not wearing the hijab, hanging women for dancing. And our minister of women calls them our brothers. Son of a bitch. They're not our brothers. Not my brother. Not my brother. Never. Taliban is listed by our own government as a terrorist organization. And of course, after she was caught making this statement and questioned, as usual, the liberals are, dancing. They're beautiful dancers. She said, well, my reference to brothers was cultural, et cetera, and we still recognize them as a terrorist organization. Well, if you think they're a terrorist organization, why aren't you making more efforts to get people away from these terrorists in Kabul? What the hell's going on with this Trudeau cabinet anyway? How can things like this happen in this country? His former Minister of Finance forced to resign over the WE scandal. His new Minister of Finance caught doctoring videos and denying it. His Minister of Defense fumbling and bumbling so badly, thousands of Canadians and allies will be likely caught by the Taliban in Afghanistan and suffer God only knows what sort of punishment. And now his Minister of Women calling the most anti-woman organization in the world our brothers? What the hell's next? What smoldering piece of dog shit is going to turn up next in that God-forsaken band of incompetents that are running this country or pretending to run the country? John, you got some text. Anybody else upset out there? Am I all alone on this?
Oh, no.
God help me if I'm all alone on this. Jesus, you know what? I have been around a long, long time. I've seen a lot of governments. I've seen a lot of cabinet ministers. I've seen some fools. I've seen some idiots. I've seen some genius. But I have never seen anybody so goddamn stupid as this one. The Taliban are brothers. My ass are brothers. Go ahead, John, please.
First text into the show at 613-413-2217 came in within seconds of us going live, Lowell. And here's what it says. She needs to be fired. She is a security risk. As a veteran of Afghanistan, I am offended by this woman. First
Good.
text in. And the Taliban live by Sharia law. Not my brother is a follow-up text from someone on Facebook. Ship her back to visit her brothers. Craig says, I certainly didn't give her my permission to say our brothers. Don says, not my brother. Time for her to step down and fast. Attilio, this whacked out female hope.
Oh,
Mike says, I Googled her. And apparently she was caught with a live mic talking about her income, how she makes $160,000 a year. Lori says, Trudeau's probably getting checks ready for the Taliban. He takes care of terrorists. Peter says, myself and some Facebook people were chasing her Facebook page last night. Funny timing. Trudeau does nothing like he does with every other person. He isn't getting any kickbacks from the poor people there to the Trudeau Foundation. By the way, we'd love your comments on the phone, so I don't have to muddle through and read some of those.
can I just say something?
2217. Yeah, of course.
Let me just jump in here.
Yeah.
We appreciate your emails, your texts, but please, I mean, give poor old John a break. Read them over at least once to yourself and see if they make any sense, so that poor John doesn't have to muddle through here.
But I get it. People are in a hurry. They want to get their thoughts out, and they bang it out.
I know. But just read it over once. That's all we're asking here. Give poor John a break. I don't mind. I mean, I'm known to stumble over everything, so it doesn't really matter. But John never makes mistakes, so we don't want to force him into one.
Never make mistakes. Can I have that in writing, please? Thank you. Let me see. It's a very scary thought. It would seem Trudeau and Monsef are in favor of recognizing the Taliban as an ally when, in fact, the Taliban has no empathy for human life. I wonder if the Liberal government would be willing to ask their brothers to give back. Dean says, it infuriates me how poorly Trudeau's government is handling this whole situation. They're so out of touch with reality. What's next? Is Justin going to donate $100 million so the Taliban can build a museum of diversity and inclusiveness? It wouldn't surprise me. Some of the comments coming in on Facebook, on Twitch, and on YouTube right now.
On another topic, and by the way, we will still take all sorts of texts and comments concerning that as well. I think that the country as a whole began to shake its head and say, wait a minute, we can't allow this kind of thing to continue. It just goes on and on and on. And this whole business, I talk about our present Minister of Finance caught, doctoring a videotape and then denying it. And then there is Trudeau, and you have a cut of him on the bus. Trudeau still making claims that Erin O'Toole is going to bring private health care to Canada. This is one of the most astonishing, silly, ludicrous statements ever made. Let's hear it. John, can we just hear what he had to say here about this?
Here we go.
Ways of avoiding it. Erin O'Toole confirmed he wants to bring private, for-profit health care to Canada. He said he supports choice in healthcare, which means letting the wealthiest pay to jump ahead in line. We believe in strengthening universal public healthcare for everyone. That's why we're investing in more doctors and nurses, shorter wait times, and better healthcare. Conservative cuts would take us backwards. Let's keep moving forward for everyone.
And there's the face.
Look at that face. Oh, would he ever lie to you? Would a face like that ever lie to you? Well, can I just point out something? I did a little research this morning. Guess what? Justin, there are 2 private clinics in your riding. Justin, there are 2 private clinics in your riding. Yes. What a unbelievable.
Can you believe he had the balls to post that last night after Twitter called it out?
I know.
Called it out.
Let me just point something out. 2 weeks ago, I had an X-ray and an ultrasound. Guess what? At a private clinic in Stittsville. Last month, I had blood work done at a private clinic in Carleton Place. 2 weeks ago, I visited my family doctor, who is a private entrepreneur, in his private clinic. In each case, all expenses were covered by OHIP. But make no mistake, these were all private, for-profit operations, okay? Now, We couldn't possibly run our healthcare system without healthcare clinics that are private. We couldn't. Can you imagine, all the diagnostic clinics being shut down? You couldn't, even to get an X-ray or ultrasound or MRI or MRI. Yeah, you have to go to the hospital. But can you imagine? We simply wouldn't be able to handle it. Thank God for private clinics. Did anyone ever hear of the Shouldice Clinic just north of Toronto? Well, just let me tell you something. It is a world famous hernia clinic, visited by hernia patients from around the world. It has the top hernia expert doctors in the world operating there. People are sent, and I repeat, from around, and I have personal experience. Good friend of mine from Freeport in the Bahamas went to one of the top hospitals in Miami, diagnosed with hernia, and was told to go to the hernia clinic in Toronto for treatment. Guess what? The Shouldice Clinic is a totally private, for-profit hospital. Oh, now, 2 or 3 years ago, maybe 4, I went to a private MRI clinic just across the river in Gatineau. Cost me $750. Now, when I go to one of these private clinics in Ottawa, it's covered by OHIP. But if I go to one of the private clinics in Gatineau, it's not covered by OHIP. And by the way, I can't declare it an income. I mean, here is Trudeau representing a province that has more private clinics and even private hospitals than any other location in Canada by far. And I'll bet you dollars to donuts that Trudeau himself at some point has gone to one of these private clinics. There's 2 in his own riding. And yet he has the gall, the insufferable gall, to sit there and smirk and claim that Aaron O'Toole wants to bring private health care to Canada? Jeez. I mean, it's, if people don't realize it, folks, is there anybody out there listening who hasn't been to a private clinic? Anybody ever go to get an X-ray at a private clinic, ultrasound, get blood work done at a private clinic? And everybody go to a doctor? The doctor is a private, for-profit entrepreneur. Many of them operating out of private clinics. And yet he claims that O'Toole is going to bring my goodness. Let me deal with something that's sane, that makes some sense. Talking about Shields. If you want to save some money on appliances, some advice from Mark Shield at Shields in Pakenham. Look, the environmentalists have kicked in on the appliance industry. I talked about this before. They're now essentially saying that all appliances sold in Canada from, starting next year are going to have to be, what is it? Energy. What's the phrase here?
Energy Star rated.
Star levels. Energy Star levels, which is going to cut out a lot of the appliances now. The lower, in other words, the lower cost appliances available now, in all probability, will not be available come next year. Thank you, the government of Canada. This is a decision of the government of Canada. Okay, the environmentalists at work. So if you're in the market for an appliance and you don't want to spend a whole lot of money, give Shields a call right now. Or check out their website. All of the appliances, they have a huge supply of appliances in stock. You'll see them all there, all the prices and the savings. You can save Frigidaire in particular. They've struck a great deal with Frigidaire. Savings $400. Shields.ca. Just have a look. Even if you're not in the market, you'll see. You'll be very surprised that a little company up there in Pakenham can do this well. Shields.ca. More texts coming in, John.
Very lively discussion. I think that's due in large part to our listeners and viewers who share this on their social media. Share. Bottom right of your screen. Thank you for that. On Twitch, Julie says, I can go for an MRI over in Gatineau at a private clinic. We already have a two-way system. An email in moments ago. Thank you, Al in Nepean, for chiming in. Lowell at blasttheradio.com. To me, the red in Liberal signs symbolizes Afghani blood. I have taken down my Canadian flag in front of my house. I'm ashamed to be a Canadian. Our incompetent Liberal government is responsible for the decapitation of thousands of innocent Afghanis. Shame on Canada. Again, that's Al in Nepean. Arthur says jumping Jack Layton went to Shouldice. Peter says MPs and MPPs, sports professionals, NHL, NBA, they all have private health care. Sonia says infuriating. She should be fired. Brothers, The Taliban are not my brothers. Never have I seen such utter incompetence from a government. Joshua on Facebook. This is the philosophy of the left. Everyone's equal. Everyone's a person. So we've spent 20 years fighting our brothers? Ridiculous. Another comment on Facebook. God, I hate that fool's voice. Not sure who you're referring to, Peter. Sorry. That was probably made sense at the time you posted it. Terry with another joke. We'll skip past that. Terry, I love you, but right now, she's just like the squad members in the Democrat Party, a shit-disturbing anti-Canadian, says Glenn. And Anne says incompetence all around. Some of the comments coming in for you, sir.
I just want to stress once again, I don't think that there's a general knowledge when we're talking private health care. Folks, the diagnostic clinics where you get x-ray, and let me tell you something, the city of Ottawa even has a diagnostic clinic that they sponsor. It's out in Center Point. I went there myself, lined up forever to get an ultrasound once. So you go, your doctor is is private medicine, okay? He's a private entrepreneur. And the clinic that you go to is probably a private clinic as well. If you go for diagnostics, an x-ray, it's in all probability a private clinic. Ultrasound, a private clinic. Blood work, private clinic. All of these private clinics. I just don't see how we could operate the healthcare system without all of these private clinics. If the hospitals had to do all of these things, if you had to
as the internet and
what's going on there?
Oh, we're back. Lowell, somebody called my phone and it knocked the internet out. Welcome to New Brunswick. I'm sorry. Carry on.
Okay. All right. How long have we been out?
About 15 seconds.
Oh, okay. All right. Somebody called your phone?
It happens.
Of course, they'll do anything in New Brunswick, right? I just wanted to stress that I don't think there's a general understanding of private health care. The diagnostic clinics where you get your x-ray, your ultrasound, your blood work, those are private clinics, private for-profit clinics. They're already here. We couldn't operate the healthcare system without them, please, okay? I mean, can you imagine if you need some blood work, you had to go and go to the emergency department at the hospital to get blood work? I mean, you'd sit all day long there so that they could take some blood, or for an x-ray. No, these are private for-profit clinics. The Shouldice Clinic is operating as and this is one of the great advantages, actually, of specializing these kinds of clinics. The Shouldice Clinic is world famous. Why? Because that's all they do. They specialize in hernias. And as a consequence, for example, and I wrote a whole story about this in one of my books, the average, doctor at the Shouldice Clinic performs over 200 hernia operations every year. The average doctor here in Ottawa might perform 3 or 4 hernia operations. So you become a real expert. It's much safer. The record is much better. There's less pain, less infection, almost unknown at the Shouldice Clinic, because this is what they do. And I see no reason why we shouldn't be able to, for example, go to a clinic for a knee. But I don't want to get out there, I guess, too much, because that's not what O'Toole is saying. He wants some more innovation, but always within the public healthcare system. In other words, OHIP would always pay for it. But here is Trudeau, you heard him, claiming with a smirk that somehow or other Aaron O'Toole is going to bring private healthcare, and he represents a province with more private healthcare, including private hospitals, than all the rest of the country combined. And in his own riding are 2 private clinics. Oh, what a farce. What a farce. John, we got some more texts coming in here, please.
We do. We've actually got a phone call coming in. Let's go to the phone. I don't know who's on there, but you are on live with Lowell Green. Who are you? And
go ahead, please, on the phone.
Of course it is, Barry.
Of course it's Barry. Right at the end. Just gotta come and put my 2 cents worth on about that Trudeau at Parliament Hill there. You know, the guy, it's obvious to everyone. I sure hope it's obvious to the people that are still thinking about voting for him that he doesn't listen to a thing. He doesn't know a thing because he's always lying. Now he's even got his ministers lying for him right over the air. So it's obviously we got to start calling them the lost liberals, because they're all legends in their own mind, and they're all going to be lost forever, I hope, after this coming election, because this country rates a lot better performance by their politicians than these guys do.
All right. Thank you, Barry. Thank you.
Thank
you. Centennial Glass, got to get a word in here about Barry. Well, you know what? At least Barry calls.
There's that.
Centennial Glass. Once again,
for Centennial Glass. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, Centennial Glass. We're dealing once again with a local company, family owned here, that's made a wonderful reputation. Just check out some of the references that you will see with Centennial Glass. If it's glass of any kind, glass windows, doors, major job, small job, even repairing screens or the various mechanical equipment on windows, the cranks and so forth. In all probability, they will have replacement there ready for you at Centennial Glass. Emergency service, yeah, they're good people, hardworking, very honest, and very, very fairly priced, believe me. Centennial Glass, Industrial Avenue here in Ottawa and in Renfrew. John, more texts.
A quick thanks to the listeners for putting up with the internet dropouts. Again, I'm operating from my cell phone in the middle of New Brunswick, back home on Monday to what is hopefully better internet for you. But thank you for putting up with it. A text here at 613-413-2217 asking, Lowell, could O'Toole include in his platform a promise to continue to investigate the SNC and do it if elected? I agree with you about the Taliban. Peter, asking you those questions.
Yeah, I think the philosophy is what's past is past. What's done is done. Let's move on. That would be my philosophy, and I think that is essentially what O'Toole's philosophy is. Although today, finally, he came out and was very, very critical of the way we are handling the situation in Afghanistan. But I'm reading a little story from the CBC in typical CBC fashion. They give O'Toole a couple of lines and say that, he's criticizing Trudeau for the handling, but doesn't come up with any suggestions of his own. That's bullshit. In fact, O'Toole has said repeatedly that for 5 years he has been begging the government to bring our people home from Afghanistan. Our last troops left Afghanistan 2014. For 5 years, Aaron O'Toole and the Conservative Party have been beseeching Trudeau, bring our people home from Afghanistan. Bring those people who helped us. Bring our allies home. For 5 years, he's been demanding that. And the CBC has got the intestinal fortitude, or whatever the hell it is, to claim that he doesn't have any other ideas. Typical. I mean, it's unbelievable. How the Conservatives can get any decent coverage of any of this is really becoming difficult. More texts, John.
Yeah, a few texts to wrap the show up, I guess, since we are at 28 past the hour. Eric says, damn, Lowell, I hope you have air conditioning. Things are getting heated. Peter says, years ago, I was told I needed an MRI on my knee. I was told it would be 6 months. I went to the clinic in Hull. The next day, bam, done. Peter says, what Trudeau does is not what regular people are allowed to do. He's a Trudeau. One rule for him and one rule for the common people. Nina says, I know this comment is not related to today's topic, but I'm so sick of hearing all his catchphrases. We're in this together. We're all working together. We will all move forward together. We will continue to do this together. BS, I say, the words of Nina posted on Facebook moments ago.
Well, don't forget, it's we're working with our brothers over there in Afghanistan. Our brothers being the Taliban, according to our Minister of Women. Mariam Monserf is Minister of Women for this country, and she calls the Taliban, quote, our brothers. Need I say anything more? I don't think so. Thank you all. We will be back tomorrow. Thank you, John.
The Lowell Green Show is seen and heard live around the world at 2 p.m. Eastern. Connect with us online at blasttheradio.com/Lowell Green. Can't join us live? Download the Lowell Green podcast. Available on Apple, Spotify, Google, and more. Ask your smart speaker to play the Lowell Green podcast. This is a production of blasttheradio.com.